following 4 Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Yo, 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 what's up? What's up? It's me, K, and I am here to bring you the good comic book news with my co-host, the man who likes himself a Jello pudding pup on a nice summer day, the one and only Alpha.
Somewhere between K Riddle and K Cosby over here.
Bro.
Yes, we are back again. Once again, to be talking about some comic book shit. And as per always, we start off with the Marvel. And what's hot with Marvel right now is what if?
What if? It asked that question as if we don't all sit around, as if that's not like the core basis of comic book fandom.
Literally.
Like what if like scenarios are always the core of any argument that you hear between two comic book fans. Well, what if this had happened? Well, what if that had happened? You hear that phrase more often than not. And Marvel's decided to make a series out of it. They did it with comic books. It was successful in the 80s and 90s and the 2000s. Now they're back with an animated series. And we had talked originally about episode 1 a few weeks back when we talked about Captain Carter. And just how good and how much more I wanted of that. But I'll tell you, man, these last 2 episodes have really left me wanting so much more. Let's get right into it. So you had the second episode, which was T'Challa becomes Star-Lord. It's kind of funny because they do this episode a little bit differently. Like in the first episode, they really kind of walked you through all the moments and walked you directly up to the moment when everything changed and things became different. This time they kind of drop you in kind of in the middle of the story and then take you back to when things you know what I'm saying, went wrong or went different.
Yeah, you're right.
So we start out with Star-Lord, of course, coming to ground on the planet where the Power Stone is and doing his thing, goes and collects the Power Stone, turns around, and of course the same guys that were waiting for Star-Lord and Guardians of the Galaxy are there waiting for him again. And only this time when he introduces himself, instead of the dude being like, "Who are you?" What? And he's like, "Star-Lord." Come on, man. Like, you know me. This time, dude's like, "Star-Lord." Oh shit. Star-Lord. It's fucking Star-Lord. It's amazing, dude. It's great because it was classic T'Challa winning more with his personality than with his fist. But yeah, like, and so we get to that first fight where he's fighting the dude, where he goes to fight the dude. The dude's like, "How do you want to do this?" He's like, "With the gun? You want me to throw the gun away? No, you want me to keep the gun?" And he's like, "Keep the gun, keep the gun." He's like, "Oh, so honorable, Star-Lord, so honorable." But no, it just immediately drops you into the scenario where it's obvious that the universe is completely different because T'Challa has become Star-Lord, like completely different. And we'll get into exactly how different a little bit later. But we went from that to T'Challa getting saved, so to speak, by Yondu. And him and T'Challa talking as if they've known each other for a while, which obviously they have. And then then the Watcher takes you back to Wakanda, 1988, which is ironic because that's the year I just recently did on KD5P music wise, was 1988.
That's pretty cool.
So, but he takes him back to 1988 and he takes back to 1988 and it's fidgety T'Challa talking to his dad, T'Chaka, and wanting to go explore.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes and throws the spear outside of the force field. He ends up getting picked up by the Ravagers, who are actually looking for Peter Quill. And the only one that points out that there's no way this young black boy could look anything like Peter Quill is Yondu, to which his henchman replies, "Humans, they all look the same to me."
Yeah.
And this guy's like, he's like, no, we got this right. 2 eye holes, 2 ear holes, 1 mouth hole. That's what you said.
It's great.
Oh, it truly was a great scene in there. But yeah, and so before we kind of get into the rest of it, what are your overall thoughts on this episode? Because like I said, we're gonna do both the episodes. We kind of, and give them both fair time. We kind of got to skip through this one. So
yeah, man. Like, no, I'm glad that you went through that far, because it gives a great gist of the episode as a whole, and the idea that he, as T'Challa as Star-Lord, instead of Peter Quill, is essentially everything that he wants Star-Lord to be.
mm-hmm.
And that's basically the on-running joke. Whereas everything Peter Quill absolutely flubbed up on because he's a klutz, but managed to win in the end, T'Challa as Star-Lord does everything completely fucking seamlessly.
Yeah.
And that's basically the entire bit throughout the entirety of the show here. And of course, we have the on-running theme of how he ended up being taken instead of Peter Quill. But it's basically, rather than having to sit there and flub over the fact that he doesn't know who Star-Lord is, the guy immediately bows to him and froths at the mouth at the idea of even being able to fight him, and eventually is the main character trope of, you were my first antagonist, but now you're part of the crew because I'm just Mary Sue energy. It's great.
Yeah. Well, you speak
wonderful
on that, and that goes to what effectively was my favorite part of episode 2, and the part that I was not ready for. I've mentioned this to you a couple of times off air. I was not ready for Thanos.
Like, was not ready for that either.
I was not ready for
mental flashback.
I was just like, and then he's like, yeah, T'Challa just showed me that there's another way, and I'm like, he talked him out of. He just talked him out of
genocide. Yeah.
Like there was no big like fight, no big win for T'Challa. He just talked him out of it.
Yeah.
Because he's in T'Challa, man.
Yeah.
Because he's in T'Challa. But yeah, you're right. But it brought up the running joke with Thanos, where every time he told his idea to somebody, they'd be like, yeah, dude, that kind of sounds like genocide. He's like, yeah, but it's efficient. Like, it's just like,
no, the best part is he doesn't fight that it's genocide. He just argues that it's efficient.
That's very efficient. And I love everybody's reaction. Everybody's like, oh man, come on, Thanos. Like, man, let it go.
It's like, oh, again, Thanos.
Yeah.
And it's like fucking sitcom shit. Like, no, it's genocide. It's great. But it basically through this it goes in reverse now, whereas he was completely and utterly uncaring to Nebula and actually tortured her immensely at his own desires. Now, on the other hand, he's willing to go in front of damage outright for her, and vice versa.
Yeah, specifically, it was shown in that fight when she came back for him and he got her out of there,
Yeah.
But I love all the little twists. Now, before we wrap this up, let's get to the final scene of the show, which is, this is why they constantly do this to me, that I want more, and not just more of the show, but more of these episodes. Because at the end of this episode, guess who shows up to pick up Peter Quill? Ego,
the living planet, motherfucker.
Yep.
And this is a very important part of this, because the person that I was watching this with looks over at me, and when at the beginning of the show, they look over me and they're like, does that mean Ego is now the father of T'Challa? And I was instantly like, no. This is not T'Challa taking the place of Peter Quill entirely. This is T'Challa becoming Star-Lord instead. Peter Quill is still his own human being with his own lineage. He's just not Star-Lord. And this was answered perfectly when we hit the end of the show, and Peter Quill is just a hamburger flipping, floor mopping human when his father, Ego the Living Planet, steps through the door.
Yeah. And that opens a brand new door because remember, the whole basis for why Peter Quill turns on Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is because of his connection with the human race. You know what I'm saying? Him being a little bit older, a little bit more jaded when his dad shows up for him may lead to Peter Quill not only not being Star-Lord, but never being a good guy.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You know, like it's straight. Ooh,
It's beautiful. Yep.
But let's move it.
One last thing about this episode, real
Sure.
quick. One final thought. It is, of course, very important to talk about the voice casting of this, not only in the fact that they obviously use people from the MCU as they always do here, but this was the final performance of Chadwick Boseman in any sense in the MCU. His recording for this was his final stuff. What's up?
His recording for the What If series. T'Challa actually shows up a couple more times in the What If series, and it is voiced by Chadwick Boseman. Yeah, he recorded the lines, but it's this was the first of like 3 episodes that T'Challa shows up in. So we will hear from Boseman again, but this series is his final performance.
Yeah. And from this point forward, this is his final performance for the MCU. And for what it's worth, he did pretty fucking good emoting with his voice for the animated series.
100%. Considering that basically he was on his deathbed when he was doing it.
Exactly.
I was reminding somebody of that the other day. I was like, it just hits you. Like, you never know. Like, dude was sick from the time he ever stepped foot on screen as T'Challa way back in Civil War.
Yep.
He knew he was sick
from the very second he debuted.
And we didn't find out till literally like a year before he died that he was working that whole time just sick. So God rest his soul. May he rest in power. All right. So now, episode 3.
Here we go.
Episode 3 was like, what if you took all the events of Iron Man 2, Thor, and the Incredible Hulk movie and just jump them all up and just fuckery. Just high level, high class fuckery.
Yes.
So the Watcher tells the story of how, the Avengers came together. He talks about the 3 different nights, and then he says, well, that was one dimension's fate. In this dimension, it was something different. And basically, we follow Nick Fury as he's going around to gather up the Avengers. First starting with Iron Man. Then who was it? Then Thor. Then what was it? And then who was the final one? And then not Hawkeye. Hawkeye was a part of all that, but there were 3 specific, and then Hulk. First go through the scene when Nick Fury shows up, and Tony Stark is sitting in the donut, eating donuts. And this was the first time that Tony Stark has been voiced or acted by somebody other than Robert Downey Jr. since before Iron Man 1. So yes, this was not Robert Downey Jr. voice acting in this one.
Shit.
But they first talk to him, and they go through the whole scene where basically Romanov is shown to Stark as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and she stabs him with the little thing that's supposed to inject the dilithium or whatever it is, right? Only difference is sitting right there in front of Stark or Fury and Romanov, Tony Stark croaks. he dies.
He just fucking dies right there on the spot.
And Fury's like, what the fuck?
Literally.
So then we was it?
No, literally. Go ahead. Yeah.
And then we fast forward to the original Thor. They find the hammer. They set up a perimeter. Thor comes for the hammer. Except the scene when Nick Fury tells Hawkeye to hold when Thor tries to pick up the hammer. This time, Hawkeye unfortunately lets go of the arrow and kills the Crown Prince of Asgard.
Okay, it does indeed not hold.
Yeah. which gets Hawkeye put in prison, which gets Hawkeye killed, which is kind of another sub story to all of these stories. And then we fast forward to Natasha Romanoff going to what's her name? The girl from Jennifer Connelly played her in the Incredible Hulk movie. I can't remember her name.
I forget her name.
Jennifer Ross. Was it Jennifer Ross?
Jennifer Ross. Jennifer Ross.
Yeah. She goes to see Jennifer Ross so that she can examine the needle that killed Stark. And yeah, that turns out to be funner than ever. But really what interested me, and I'll jump onto this real quick just so we can get to discussing it.
Go ahead.
How they killed the Hulk was interesting. Like, what the fuck was in that bullet that made him just go bigger, back at bada boom and just blow up?
Oh, they explained it later. I'll explain it when we get to that then, in that case.
But yeah, so like Romanoff figures out that something or somebody busted out the tip, and the stuff, the cured stuff never got into Stark.
Yep.
And then she discovers that Bruce Banner, of course, voiced and played by Mark Ruffalo, as opposed
Bruce
to
Banning.
Yes, Bruce Banning, shows up, and while they're standing there trying to convince General Ross, because good old General Ross, of course, shows up.
Of course, the most calm of men, right?
Right. And so not only does he does Mr. Ross attack the Hulk, but somebody that was not any of his people shoots the Hulk before he becomes the Hulk, which of course turns him into the Hulk, because now he's got shot and he's pissed.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, but then he jumps down, he starts fighting the army, is the best way I could think of to put it. He starts fighting the army.
Accurate.
Yeah. And just randomly in the middle of it all, swells up and blows up. Like just poof, 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 poof.
Yep.
And is gone.
Just fucking big Trouble in Little China style, just fucking starts inflating and fucking explodes.
Exactly.
Yeah, right there. And of course, completely fucking mortified, Jennifer Ross is fucking screaming because Bruce Banning just fucking exploded like a balloon. And so
I'll let you take us home.
Our own running theme here, of course, is that the Avengers are never even able to be put together, which is very important here, because I need you to constantly ask yourself, why did the Avengers form? As we go along here, the Avengers are eventually all picked off up until we get to the point where we only have Black Widow and Nick Fury left.
Yeah.
And eventually this leads to Black Widow finding out and inadvertently dying immediately after finding out, sending a message to Nick Fury saying it's all about hope. The moment that she said this, I was like, I know what this is already.
Yeah.
And our first immediate clue was the fact that when she was looking on the computer, it brought up Janet Van Dyne, who is, of course, the Wasp. The Wasp. And of course, so Nick Fury, understanding this, goes to the grave of Hope Van Dyne, the child of Hank Pym and Jennifer Van Dyne. And of course, Hank Pym comes out and reveals that he was the killer all along, which, of course, is very important, because I think 2 or 3 times on the show I've mentioned the fact that Hank Pym was explicitly left out of being an Avenger in the movies, which is a big detail, because Hank Pym as Ant-Man was a founding member of the Avengers, of the original lineup of the Avengers. And so usually, and they distance themselves from this because, of course, Hank Pym slaps his fucking wife in the comics. Like they didn't put him in the MCU because in canon Hank Pym backhands Van Dyne like blatantly, and that's why when we got Ant-Man on the big screen, it was not Hank Pym, it was Scott Lang. It was the second Ant-Man.
Damn, I never knew about that much. Wow.
Yeah, but so as a result of being literally left out of being an Avenger in the MCU, and in this canon for the death of Hope Van Dyne, as in any canon she does become a member of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
He's on a murder path against all of the Avengers.
Well, and now, side note, while Nick Fury is dealing with the Avengers being picked off one by one, Loki decides to attack Midgard.
Yes.
in vengeance of Thor's death.
Of course, which is inadvertent, because why did the Avengers form again?
Because Loki attacked Earth. Well, I'll say yes. So, okay. So just to wrap it up, basically what you had was this amazing fight sequence with Hank Pym in, what was it? In the Wasp, or not the Wasp, the Yellow Jacket uniform.
In the Yellow Jacket armor, yeah.
In the Yellow Jacket armor, attempting to fight and beat up Nick Fury. But of course he can't touch Nick Fury because Loki is creating like 10 million, how do you say, illusions of Nick Fury. Decoys, all over the place.
Yeah.
So but yeah, so basically, yeah, I guess evidently what the story is that Hope Van Dyne dies at some point while working for S.H.I.E.L.D., and that drives Hank Pym over the edge, and causes him to turn on them and kill off the Avengers one by one.
Yep.
So, like, it was, like I said, very interesting storyline, very
awesome.
Random what if. And it actually ends with Loki taking over Earth, Loki deciding to stay and take over Earth, which he successfully does. And then Nick Fury, in what was one of the funniest swerves of the entire show, walks up to an iced up thing, swipes it to the side, and sees the Captain America shield and goes, "So, how you been, Captain?" And then you see this little glow from behind him, and he turns around and it's Captain Marvel, and she's like, "Where's the fight? Let's go." And I'm like, bro, you got to give me that movie. You got to give me that episode where Captain Marvel fights Loki for control of Earth. Come on.
Exactly. Last resort is Captain Karen.
Yes,
it's funny. No, it was really cool though. It was a really dope ending. It's the idea that even if the Avengers were never formed, Captain Marvel as a character is unaffected by the trajectory of the Avengers, which is really fucking cool. But that being said, like I've been going along here, the Avengers formed for one reason, and Nick Fury will tell you it was the brightest of the future, and that no, it was because Loki invaded Earth.
Yeah.
It was because Loki invaded Earth. The Avengers got together in comics and in MCU because Loki invaded Earth. And so as a result, when Loki invades Earth and the Avengers are not here, no matter what path it may have taken to get there, Loki wins because there are no Avengers to stop him.
Yep. So until he meets,
so fucking dark.
Until he meets Miss Marvel, or Captain Marvel, I should say. Because I know if she's strong enough to take on Thanos, she should be easily strong enough to take out Loki.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
All right, so we went a little overtime there by a minute or two, but that's okay. That's okay because we love what we do.
Yes, sir.
So y'all just keep listening in or keep watching this Cheap Pop podcast right here on the Double KK Double Network on YouTube or on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify. You guys know where to find us. And we'll be back right after the break. Peace. You're listening to the Cheap Pop Podcast right here on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network. Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you may find your favorite podcasts.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast, spelled DA, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
From the galactic depths of the comic book universe comes the ghosts of the stratosphere, ready to galvanize and energize your mind with the latest of comic book news and reviews. And why are you stopping me?
Yeah.
Yes, that's much better. Hi, this is Andy Larson for Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Join me every week along with my co-hosts Rob Stewart and Chad Smith, as well as a cavalcade of fantastic comic book guests, as we dish out heaping helpings of the greatest and latest of comic book news and reviews. New shows posted every Tuesday with bonus shows every first Friday of the month. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Ghosts of the Stratosphere, as well as on our website, www.gotstratosphere.com. Hope to see you soon, folks.
And we're back. We're back, and I'm black, and he's alpha, and I'm trying to rhyme, and I suck at it. But y'all know who we are. Welcome, Alpha. What's up?
Yes, we are back. And now on the flip side of the show, we're going to introduce you to the new thing that we're going to be reviewing probably on the flip side of this show, probably from this episode the next, and maybe another time, who knows. But I got old boy K Double here on some Netflix original shit. They pump out some good anime, and I've talked about it before, and I've commended it on my own, but I've gotten old boy to watch Castlevania, and that's what we're going to be talking about now.
Yep, this old dog has been taught a couple of new tricks. I'll tell you that much. I'll be honest. Like I said to a friend of mine, I'm loving the show 100%. It's not something I think somebody like my daughter is ready for.
Absolutely, do not watch that in front of kids.
It's definitely got its more violent side. Like there was just one sequence where these creatures are just kind of running through this town and just randomly grabbing people and like eating them and fucking eating their faces. And I'm just like, was that necessary? Like, was there something that we could have seen that was progressing the story instead of that? But you know, it is what it is. You know, that's Castlevania though. Like if you've ever played a Castlevania game, that's Castlevania. You know, it's blood and gore. But you start out with a story of Dracula and his wife, and I like that. I really, 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 really liked that. The fact that they showed that Dracula had, and I like the fact that they used like the Vlad Tepes, like that particular version of Dracula.
The historical person that which Dracula was based off of it. Yeah.
Right. You know, and so go ahead.
Yeah, immediately within the first episode, you see that Castlevania is in fact not the story of the Belmonts. And as we go forward, that will be accentuated much, much more as we go along here. But Castlevania is indeed also on large part about the story of the Alucard family as well, or beginning with the story of Vlad Tepes.
Vlad Tepes, yes. And he finds a lovely woman who is who loves the science of things really more so than anything else. And she teaches him how to connect with humanity, and he teaches her how to do some really good science that
basically forbidden knowledge.
Right. Shit that the church was like, nah, motherfuckers, like just nah.
Witchcraft.
We can't have none of that. And so as the Catholic Church did back in the day, they burned her at the stake.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be a very, very, very bad mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, they fucked with the wrong man's woman. That's all I got to say about that.
And of course, of the finer details, it is definitely very important to mention that upon burning his wife, Dracula appears in flame and flat out says, "You have 1 year's time to get the fuck out of here. Because if any of you motherfuckers still here when I come back, I'm bringing parademons for your ass." And they didn't believe it. And so we skip to a year's time ahead, and the townspeople foolishly are still fucking there. And they are still fucking surprised when the sky turns blood red and parademons start fucking up all their shit.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was quite interesting. It was like, yeah, y'all, was you at the burning? You was at the burning? The face came up and the face, you got 1 year? 1 year? Okay, baby, we need to start looking for a job. Like, baby, we need to get them up out of here. The big fiery face, big fiery face said, "Get the fuck on." Within a year, we got a year. Just keep moving west, honey. Just keep moving west. Once we hit the water, we'll build a boat. Don't worry. Just keep moving west. But nah.
God damn it.
But it did bring you back to the Belmonts in order to give you the heroes of our story, because we are obviously shown that Dracula is our protagonist, and he is unleashing his hordes onto Walea, the name of the antagonist. Sorry, but our protagonist finds himself drunk in a barn, trying to hide his identity because, well, the Belmonts aren't very liked around there. Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah. It's accurate to the Dark Ages. If you dabble in magic, you are devil-worshipping bastards, even if you are known for killing devils.
yeah. I'm only saving your ass, but all right, man. Bad, fire bad.
But hence why I believe the fourth or fifth generation of the Belmont family finds itself in a tavern, red-faced and head slumped.
Yeah. It did lead to a great action sequence in which he kind of beat the shit out of everybody, but that was kind of funny. Even while he was drunk, beat the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like season 1 was only 4 episodes, and let me tell you, it went by quick. It kind of reminded me of when I was watching season 3 of Cobra Kai, which, by the way, on a side note, while we're talking Netflix, Cobra Kai season 4 is due out in December, and they've already been renewed for season 5.
Fuck yeah.
So, but it kind of reminded me of watching season 3 of Cobra Kai, where fucking I looked up, and next thing I know, I was eight episodes in, and there was only 2 episodes left, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
It's like,
did I watch this much of it? Like,
how much have I been watching?
Kind of like He-Man's in the Masters of the Revolution, the Revelations show. Next thing you know, you're at episode 5, and it's over, and you're like, "Wait, no more! Bravo, more encore!" But yeah, man, like, and that's where I got to with the end of season 1, because they didn't catch up with Dracula quite yet. But you did have the revelation of the speaker.
The speakers,
yes, the speakers, and
the speakers. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say they're kind of like historians. They're the historians of their time.
Literally, yeah, they're historians that keep the entirety of their history, the culture of, and basically everything pertaining to the culture of the speakers is communicated and only kept in the minds of the people in it, and can only be communicated verbally. You can't write down the history of the speakers, and that's because that's the way of the speakers. Like there is no Quran or Bible of the speakers, because you cannot write down the history of the speakers. All of it must be kept in the minds of them and only verbally communicated, hence the name speakers. Despite the fact that we find out that the speakers are a type of mage. They're type of wizards. Exactly. But they're called speakers because of the fact that everything is verbal.
Yeah. And she's a pretty powerful one too, to boot, because basically season 1 is Trevor Belmont running into a group of speakers who are basically set to die at the hands of the Christian church, or the Catholic church. And he goes, and the dude wants to see his daughter's body before they leave, because he thinks she's dead. And Belmont goes to find her body so that he'll leave, and doesn't end up finding her body, but finds her alive there, and actually defeats a Cyclops in what is a fucking badass fucking action sequence. They have a lot of those in this particular movie, or in this particular show. And we'll get to that when we get to the finale of season 2, which was just the fight with Dracula. Yeah.
As we roll with this show, I'm gonna promise you one thing: as it continues, the combat only gets fucking better.
Really? Yeah, I've noticed that. From season 1 to season 2, it has gotten a lot better. And
it peaks at the end, I promise.
Okay. Season 2 leads us to the Belmont estate that has been rebelized, so to speak. More cartoon fuckery. I want to say, but
and reduced basically to atoms, so that there is only just the basement level at this point.
And I forget how. It's been a while since I've watched the early episodes. I forget how they ran into Alucard, but I know it was like early in season 2 when they do. Alucard being the son of Dracula.
Oh no, they that's what they find in we completely forgot that. On their way in the depths of that city, they find Alucard in a coffin, sleeping and resting away, healing away from the injury that his own father gave him. Alucard being obviously Dracula backwards. Allegory for the fact that he's basically a crossbreed.
Yeah.
And it's very important to note here that all of Dracula's children have the surname Alucard. And as we go along through the series here, I don't know if they're going to introduce any more of them, but a huge part of the video games is that obviously Dracula fucks, and Dracula has like 5 or 6 kids, and they're all called Alucard. As an anagram in reference to Dracula. So of course we do get our Netflix Alucard, which is the pretty boy androgen version, which is really fucking cool, because he is to boot with the Masamune 8-foot telepathic sword. It's so good.
Yes, the sword is
yes, the telepathic Masamune. It's perfect. But at this point too, I do want to recognize that just in the first season alone, there is obviously, of course, like certain nods to the video games, but most of all in the way that they fight, it explicitly is like they do in the video games. In the video games in the Castlevania series, where you play as Alucard and or Dracula, one of the most well-known things you can do is the shadow step, the ultra fast way that the vampires move around, where they just move at Mach speeds with the red fucking flares behind them.
Yeah.
That's a mark of that you're playing as a vampire in the Castlevania series. So that's pretty fucking cool, and it's just little shit like that.
No, that I noticed that, and it gave me a little smile. Like the story is very I see it. The story is pretty dark, because like, you know, you have who is it? It's Hector and what's his name? Can't remember the other Forge Master's name.
Hector and Isaac.
Isaac, yeah. And those two are just so damn dark. But yeah. I was
I'll get used to seeing them, because they're good.
Yeah.
They're good, stable parts of the show. But yeah, no, as we begin, we see that Hector and Isaac are essentially the lone 2 humans that Dracula favors, because they completely hate the human race.
Yes.
And hold no regard for the lives of humans in death or in life.
No, 100%.
But we are exposed to the Forge Master idea, where you have a person who takes a specific item that is specific to them. You find that Isaac's is a double-sided knife, what I believe to be, it's a dagger. That would be a dagger. And then we have Hector, who has his Forge Master's hammer. And
I actually felt sorry for Hector by the end of season 2. Like,
I
felt bad for him. with what's her name? Carissa or Coletta or something like that. Like the one that the female
the big pale bitch.
Yeah, the big pale bitch, exactly. But yeah, like with the way she did him, just like, damn, dude, like
dirty.
Damn, dude. It was like, all right, yeah, just stop beating my ass. Like,
well,
alone.
Where are we at for time right now?
Oh, we got about 6.
Okay, never mind then. In that case, then okay, cool. So let's roll further into season 2 then. Okay. At this point, we basically get into the full focus of, we have our team, which is Alucard, Trevor Belmont, and Sypha Diaz, which fills the 3 main RPG roles that every single team has. Of course, you need leader, mage, and then DPS.
Yeah.
And so we have our little squad here, and as they roll along, we have multiple branching different storylines, all of them converging at the fact that they are all hunting down Dracula in this season. That's the whole focus. And so it revolves a lot around the dynamic that they form as a team, and the dynamic that Dracula's court has with each other. and the eventual growing distrust that everyone in Dracula's court has for each other. But we don't lose fact at all for the fact that basically Hector and Isaac are the most loyal to Dracula in the whole cast.
Isaac, what was his name? What was the name of the vampire that Isaac just killed? Because dude was talking about turning on Dracula.
I was gonna say I forget his fucking name.
Grenhold or something like that. Like, man, he just jumped on.
He was all of the vampires have a little like have a historical little tie, and he was Norse, which was pretty fucking cool. But go ahead.
Right. But no, I was just talking about the way dude mentioned that he was gonna try to fuck over Dracula, and Isaac like wow, jumped on that nigga and thumbed his eyes out. Was like, I was just
do not touch shit about my boy.
Pretty much.
No, it's good. And that's as we go along here, Isaac is the most loyal to Dracula than anyone. And it's made clear immediately with the fact that any form of backtalk against Dracula is met with a thumb to the fucking eyes.
And it created a very, very sweet moment right before the final battle with Dracula. When they've now come into the castle. She's brought the castle to them. They've now come into the castle. Dracula and Isaac have backed up into his study. And Isaac's like, they gonna have to kill me to get to you. Like, I got you. And then Dracula's just like, yeah, nah. Like, nah.
Oh no, Isaac. Isaac says they're gonna have to get and kill me before they come anywhere near you. And Dracula responds with, I know you will. And then grabs Isaac by the nape of the neck and throws him through the Dracula teleporting mirror.
Yep.
Into the fucking sands of the east where he found him.
Now,
it is very important here as well while we're on the topic of Isaac, it's very important as we go along here that we find out in season 2 that basically Isaac was born into the Muslim religion and worshipped the Muslim religion. He worshipped Islam. But as he found Dracula, he strayed further from his religion so that he can focus on his endeavors with Dracula.
Okay. That explains a little bit about the self-punishment stuff. Yeah. But anyway, okay, so that leads us to what we'll close out with, which was the epic fight between Alucard, Cypher, and Trevor Belmont. And I mean, like, I'm gonna tell you this much, and then I'll let you take it away.
Yeah.
Dracula had, and I was talking about this earlier to Suave. Dracula had 2 daddy that's enough moments in there where like it was just like beep, 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 beep. He was dodging him. He's sitting there beep, 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 throwing punches, jabbing back and forth with him, and it was just like, you know what? That's enough. Wow, like you're just done. Get the fuck away from me. And then there was one, actually there's 3 of them total. There was one with the entire group. There was one with Trevor Belmont where Trevor gets close enough to start punching.
I was going to say, this is very important because the Belmont entire family line has hunted Dracula and made a career out of hunting and fighting Dracula. And this was the first meeting that Trevor Belmont and Dracula have ever had, was this moment. So Trevor Belmont runs up to Dracula and socks him square in the mouth. And without having said a word, Dracula looks down at him and just says, "You're a Belmont, aren't you?" Knowing that the only person stupid enough to walk up and sock Vlad fucking Tepish right in the fucking mouth is a Belmont.
Oh man.
Yes.
And so, but he lights his ass up though. Like I said, he takes a few hits. He's just like, yeah, that's enough. Wow. And like, so as my old martial arts teacher would say, every hit with Dracula was a devastating attack. Like he wasn't leaving nothing to chance. And what was the most odd and funny moment was when him and Alucard are going at it, and Alucard slightly gets an upper hand on him, and you just see that look in his face, like, all right, I done had about enough of this shit. Blah, blah, blah. He just starts lighting them up through walls, going through the whole castle. Just no quarter is asked for, no quarter is given. Exactly. And he's just stomping his own son, which ends up being the tipping point of it all, when he finally beats the shit out of him all the way back to his childhood bedroom. Like, and I mean beats the living hell out that boy.
And then, of course, what I call is the Omni Man Effect. Is now we come to the very end where the only way that Dracula is able to be defeated is after about 15 minutes of stomping his own son's face into the fucking concrete, at which he stops and realizes what he's done, and then meets his fate at the hands of all of them, dying on the floor that which Alucard was raised in.
Yeah, completely dying, because she came in and said he took the dagger, was like, and then Trevor came in and wow, cut off the head, and then fucking she came in, was like, step back, I got this, bing, whoosh, bye. I was just like, damn.
Exactly. And of course it is accurate as it says, though, in the way that when a vampire dies, the give off is proportionate to the amount of power they had. So him being the most powerful fucking vampire ever went off like a small nuclear fucking air pocket.
The All-Father, so to speak.
Yes.
Dracula is the All-Father of vampires.
Yes.
On a last note, before we sign off here, because our time's up, I'm trying to remember. There was a game. It was a D&D style game. I believe it may still exist, but it was called, I believe it was either called Vampire or something. But I remember there was like 4 or 5 different classes of vampire, and you could create a character. It was just like playing D&D.
That's pretty fucking dope.
But yeah, I'm gonna find out before we do our next comic book episode. I'm gonna find out what the name of that particular D&D was. And yeah, like I created quite a few characters. I had a character that was he got turned when he was 13 years old. He carried a 6-foot bow staff.
Oh, that's so fucking dope.
And he was basically unkillable.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like,
that's gotta be fun.
Oh,
that's gotta be fun.
Yeah,
that shit. I want to play that too.
Yeah, I'm like, I was into all of that when I was in my like 20s, 30s. I was just like, the group that I ran with was, so I was too.
Fuck yeah, man.
But all right, man, close us out. Last words, and we'll call it a day.
All right, you know how it goes, my people. We're going to be back again next time to talk some wrestling shit. We're going to be talking about some NXT, maybe some AEW, maybe some Daniel Bryan debuting, right?
Yeah, I was going to say,
we're going to see. We're going to be talking some All Out. So we're going to have some schnews on the way back. Most importantly, thank you for joining us today. Talk some Castlevania and some comic book shit. You be safe, my people. Peace.